Good afternoon, Dr. Allen. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Mrs. Geddes.
Yes,
Uh, and
welcome to
so good
another
to see
in
you.
the series of conversations with Dr. Allen. That's what I've decided to name it, Dr. Allen. Conversations with Dr. Allen. So welcome. Over to you. Welcome.
It's such a great pleasure to be here with you again and to be able to help those who are hearing us talking about this very important subject, that they will be informed and empowered as a result of this discussion.
Indeed. And so the topic today is what is partner abuse? And together we chose the topic, and we were specific not to say it wasn't only women that are abused, there are also men who are abused. And so it's important that people understand that this topic is for everybody. It is called partner abuse, regardless of whether you're married or you're not married. It is a very important topic, and I so look forward to what you have to say tonight. Well, this afternoon for you, tonight for me, Dr. Allen. So, what are the signs? What would you consider to be the signs of abuse? Because I think that's a very important question. What are those signs that people should look for?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is that um, if you're talking about looking at somebody and spotting that that person is abuser, you can go down a rabbit hole.
Mm,
Yes, because a person is able to hide the signs that make them abuser from others around them in public life. They can be the most charming persons that you know. Because, usually they are narcissistic, and narcissistic persons, in the interest of getting attention and being able to pull in the person and attract the person that they want to relate to, then they're going to put it on, they're going to lay it on, they're going to be very kind and helpful and, you know, do everything to make you feel that this is a nice and this is just the type of person I would like to have. So what we're saying today is then is just don't look on, sometimes they say first impressions are lasting, but I would say don't look on first impressions, you know,
mm.
because first impressions can be deceptive. So what I would say is that indeed, to spot the signs of an abuser, you have to really get to know the person. Get to know the person. All right. Um,
Very important because, as
and
you say,
yes,
the person might be the most charming person in the world. And you're thinking, wow, this is a wonderful person. But
yes. And you see what happens nowadays is that um, in the older in the past years, where more people live in a rural community, you would get to know people in the community, at school, you go to the same church, whatever. Even in the city, in the older times, you grew up on the avenue, Um, and even nowadays, you can get involved in um, activities where you can get to know, like sports and public affairs discussions or whatever, where you can get to know people and know what they are like. But now we are caught up with with um, the smartphone,
Exactly.
and everybody's hooked in the smartphone, and even AI now. So the picture you're seeing there,
It might be a different person.
it may be a different person, you know. So people are so hooked in, so that makes it even worse. You know, so you see somebody nice now, they're attractive, attentive, etc. And you have no other experience, but you know, average woman or average man would like to get married, have a child, and so on. You say, okay, let's give it a go. And this person, you know, seems like they like me. So I like people who like me and treat me good. So let's give it a go. So then now we are saying to you, anybody that you are relating to, you make sure that this person is somebody as much as you can who is less likely to be an abuser. So therefore you have to look out for signs. So one sign is that the person is going to try to be controlling. That is one of the main goals of an abuser, to control and also to demean, right? So what the person is going to try to do is to um, control, for example, your friends, what type of friends you keep, who you're talking to on the phone, what you're talking about. And if you're talking to your friends on the phone, they might come in the room and start listening. They try to control how much you keep involved with your relatives. You will have to talk to your relatives so much. What are you talking to them about? They try to control whether the person works or not. You don't have to work. No, man. I'm earning enough that I can support both of us. You know, um, they try to control even financially. You know, so there are some people who the spouse. Usually it is the woman, but it can be the other way around too. As we're saying, how much money you have to spend. You only get enough to buy the grocery. And after that, you know, any money you want, you have to go and ask. Sometimes you have to write it down, how much you get, and write it down, how much you give back after you buy what you buy. You know, um, you both may be sitting down and watching television, and the person must control what both of you watch. Even something as simple as that,
The remote
you know,
control.
remote control. Who has the remote control? You know, even controlling what you cook, you know, and you know, so almost one's total life ends up being controlled. And at first, you know, you don't realize it.
You
You
know
know,
it because
and
somebody is looking out for you and trying to help you,
yes,
and they really
yes,
care.
you
They
know,
really care, Dr. Allen.
and
That's
and
the
and the
point.
and the control, and when you begin to feel control, well, I'll say another thing before aside from the control is the putting down.
Mm,
Yes, you know, the other person can have opinions. Oh, political opinions, religious opinions, opinions about a variety of things. But if you try to express your opinions about anything, oh, you're talking foolishness. What do you know about this? Who tell you this? You know, you're stupid, you fool, you know, and this type of thing. So the person's sense of esteem begins to go down, you know,
yes.
and that control and that putting down can go to the point where you lose your sense of identity and
Mm,
self-esteem. You almost begin to feel now that you're a nobody, you're just a shell, you know, and that you're just existing in this house with this man. you know, and you don't get to go out to your friends, to your relatives, to work, you know, even to church sometimes. And you only do what he wants and you can't think what you want to think. So you feel like you're a non-entity.
But
And
Dr. Ali, there's a part of this. I'm sorry to cut you, but there's a part of this that I wanted to delve into a little more. And you're talking about once you have got married. But I'm thinking that even more dangerous is before you get married, because the question is, how are you able to spot? Because I can tell you that in my case, we lived in two different countries. So it was so hard to be able to understand, I mean, all of the various factors that you needed to know. So it was mostly a telephone kind of relationship. And so you're kind of wondering, how can you help people to understand, or to understand how serious it is and how important it is to truly find out as much as you can about this person before you get involved. I mean, I don't know.
well, you say, but you have said something, and I'll give two answers to this. You have said something that you're on the phone. No, you have to wonder now, do these long distance relationships work? Because
Exactly.
you're in a long distance relationship, you think you like a person, and then when they come home from where they are now, and then not long after, so you really don't know what you have been dealing on all the time in this long distance relationship. You see, so you have to question whether long distance relationship work. The other thing is that you have to look at the question of um, being selective with whom one forms a relationship with. Look out for the little things. Look out for the little things. And what I'm talking about here, the control and the demeaning and so on. Sometimes they slip, you know.
Yes,
They will
easily.
slip. They will slip. And you will see it coming out. You might feel, oh well, you know, the person is just human, you know, and they just, you know, a little slip, and they'll apologize, you know, and then say, I'm sorry, you know, I didn't mean it that way. And then they go back to what you think they should be. And then it's
Yes.
a back and forth thing. And then, you know, it's a boy, you know, I really want to get married, and my relatives, you know, and friends saying I must get married, and boy, you know, I really have to go for it. And I must make this thing work. Nothing go like that. We can't change our partner.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
only God can change people if people want God
Amen.
to change them. You know. So
Amen.
so so when we spot these little things, you see, and the other thing is that um that these persons might appear to be empathetic and to be concerned about you and to what have you. But you're going to see times when they are the opposite.
Mm.
Whatever happens is just for themselves, right? So these are some things that I don't know if you
Yes.
wanted to talk about. I mean, there's a matter of of types of abuse and effects and
Yes.
this type of thing, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
what are the various types? Because, initially I just thought that physical abuse was the only type of abuse that existed. And I think a lot of people believe that physical is the only abuse. But
well,
go ahead.
the thing to remember is that trauma is trauma is trauma. And what abuse means is that the abused person becomes traumatized, that their brain changes.
Mm.
their brain changes, and it takes years for that trauma to be healed. So whether it be physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, and the other types we'll talk about, that all of them are, in a sense, almost equivalent. I mean, obviously, if somebody is going to maim you, I mean,
Yes.
beat you to the point where you're almost dead, I mean, clearly, that is something,
Yeah.
you know, but at the same time, somebody can also maim you psychologically,
Exactly.
you know, that when you begin to feel depressed, as if you're a nobody, and then you begin to feel anxious when the person comes around. You know, I'm going back and forth a little bit about the effects, but when the person is around, you begin to feel anxious. What are they going to say now? What they're going to come up with? So you have anxiety, you know, and then you have depression can come in now because I am not around my friends and my relatives. I feel lonely. I'm alone in this house.
Yes.
He's gone out to work and I can't go nowhere. I'm alone. Or
But
even if he's here, I'm still alone. You know, I
yes,
remember,
yes.
well, it can be the other way around too, but there's still a sense of loneliness and it can cause depression, right? And if somebody is vulnerable to other types of, and of course we have post-traumatic stress disorder,
Yes.
you know, which it has multiple symptoms. But if people are vulnerable to other types of mental illness, it can spring that off. And if you have, you know, it can affect you physically as well, like heart problems and all kind of other illnesses can be triggered or made worse by by abuse, you know.
And
So
things like inability to sleep and, having
yes,
terrible nightmares and,
exactly. So
that kind of thing.
yes, so in other words, that is, you know, inability, as you said, sleep. The food is before you, nice food. You don't
Yeah,
feel to
eat.
eat it. You just feel to stay in bed all day, like the drive. You know, you feel like a shadow. You can't focus and concentrate on doing anything well, you know. Um, you don't feel to talk to anybody. You just feel to isolate yourself, even when you get the opportunity.
Yes.
So these are some of the signs of different, and sometimes people can feel suicidal.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
And
and
you're moving into one of my questions, which is what is the effect on the victim? You've touched on some stuff there, but there was I remember I used to visit this couple years ago, and there was something that was always very strange to me, that whenever the male was outside of the room, suddenly she became very, very vocal. She would be talking and saying lots of things, and the minute he came back in the room, she would just go quiet. And
yes, and that is the sense of control and the meaning. And what I want to say, you know, there are people out there in the society, friends and relatives and church brethren and people at work. If you ever start to talk about, oh, you know, my partner sometimes hits me and bumps me, you know, and I have a little mark, and they say, what happened? And you know, usually you might say, well, I fell and hit my head against somewhere, and that's what we say, you know, I'm not feeling so good, I didn't sleep so. But if sometimes you really try and mention it, I say, that man, no man, that man is the nicest man, and how could you be saying something like that? And then the other thing is the average person out there does not know what type of things happen in abuse unless they have grown up in an abusive home,
Exactly.
unless they have experienced it. They don't understand it. and that not enough effort is made to educate the public as a whole. That's why we're having this discussion here, because people out there don't really know that these things can happen until they are in it.
Exactly.
So you see, so it's important to know before. You
Yes.
see, and I just mentioned so we have been talking about some of the effects, and part, and this is why I would suggest that um wherever we are, at work, church, in the community, and we know people, try to get close to people around you. You know, try to get close, build up a relationship, tell them about your life.
Mm.
You know, those who are not being abused or whatever. Or even if you are, you might tell them, and they may say, "You too," you know. But have a connection, because
Yes.
people who are not connected are more vulnerable. So build
Mm.
connections and share about your life, you know,
Yes.
and you know, even have people around you, and even certain people like policemen, you know, or lawyers, or certain people who might know what to do if there's any emergency, or
Right.
your doctor, you know, or you write out an affidavit or get your doctor to sign something that if anything happens, you know, you are prepared,
Yes.
you know. And the other thing is that as we talk about types of abuse, we have to remember that financially, people can be we spoke about financial.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we covered most of the different
Types.
types. But one thing I want to say is that people might assume that the person who is being abusive, may be under pressure. You know,
Mm.
they are laid off, they're under pressure at work, they're having financial difficulties, they grew up in an abusive home. That might have an influence, yes, but you figure that, so, you know, the person under pressure, man, and it's not them, you know, it's their circumstances. But the reality is that people who abuse, they know what they are doing, they are aware of what they are doing, and they do it deliberately. And even when they apologize and go down on their knee, and they say, you know, I just had a bad week, things just went bad, life was just going haywire, and I just couldn't control myself. That's a lie. They knew what they were doing, and they're aware, and they do it deliberately, because that is how they are, and that is how they function. And we need to realize that when you're spotting somebody, and you're seeing your red flags, recognize not just because of circumstances. This is how these people are, and when you leave them, they are going to, and if they marry somebody else, it will be the same thing. They could marry 10 wives, the 10 wives are going to be abused. And that is why sometimes it's good when you're getting in the courtship, talk to if you can talk to their friends or their family. If they will tell you, you might get a hint. Were they married
Indeed.
before?
Indeed.
What caused the breakup? You know,
Indeed.
do your intelligence work. So see how much you can know about the person to pick up any
Indeed.
clue.
And so Dr. Allen, I'm going to just sum up before we end this particular broadcast, but I want to just thank you again, you know, and I'm sure I know what your answer would be. If there are persons who are listening right now to this broadcast, what would be your advice if they're in an abusive situation? I mean, I'm going to just read some of those those, and this is coming straight from your website. It says, do you feel afraid of your partner? Do you avoid certain topics out of fear of angering your partner? Do you feel you can't do anything right for your partner? Does your partner humiliate you or yell at you, criticize you and put you down, treat you so badly that you're embarrassed for your friends or family to see? Ignore or put down your opinions or accomplishments? Do they have a bad and unpredictable temper? Do they hurt you or threaten you? Do they act excessively jealous and possessive? And just pull in some of these. So there's physical abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's financial abuse. There's so many various forms of abuse. And so I'm going to just put that question to you again, Dr. Allen. What do you recommend to persons who are in an abusive situation?
Where you see that almost every aspect, as you just mentioned, of a person's life is being affected. Where one is unhappy day in, day out. Where life is almost seems like hell and you wish you could get away. Or where you feel that you're a robot, that you're a non-entity, and where you feel that that you have to be careful what you say, and you feel that you have to live that control to stay safe. You have to live under that control, and that there is no out for you. Some people feel that this now is going to be my life and there is no out. If you get into that stage, there's a lot of danger. Put yourself first. When you're flying on the airplane and the mask comes down, the stewardess says, and you have a baby, put the mask on yourself first, so you're alive to look after your baby. So even if you think you love your spouse and the best person in the world, it seems, love yourself first. And if you get involved with somebody who does not allow you to love yourself first, that person is an abuser. Straight and plain. Straight and plain.
And what is your recommendation to them, Dr. Allen?
My recommendation, if you love yourself first and you see all this danger, then it just means that you have to find yourself somewhere where you are safe.
And as I'm not go ahead, doctor.
So what I mean by that is that, it means getting out of the unsafe circumstances. Whatever it means, wherever you go, whatever arrangements you make, you have to get from the unsafe to the safe.
To the safe.
That is your responsibility.
Amen, Dr. Allen. And that is the message, that if you're find yourself in an abusive situation, I mean, there's my book. I mean, there are other books out there that tell you how to get out safely, because you have to be careful on how to get out as well. And we'll probably discuss that in another session. But
oh yes, a lot to talk about.
You have to find yourself in a safe place, and that is so important. So thank you so much, Dr. Allen, and we look forward to the next session, which we're going to be discussing. What we're going to be discussing again, Dr. Allen, in the next one?
In the next session, we'll be looking at finding a mate.
Wow. I'll definitely have to depend on you for that one.
It's a little similar here.
Yes.
But how you find the right mate,
Yes.
But that will help in not making bad choices.
Definitely. All right. Thank you so much.